All right, so on Sunday, we started doing some hip things, and I'd like to continue a little bit with that. And and the other thing I wanted to say to start out, since this is, well, it doesn't really matter. I think all of our practices, we can be thinking a little bit more about our intention. Oh, I'm gonna have to stand back here, maybe. Camera. And so I'm thinking this morning about my intention to do these practices, and maybe you want to as well. And the first thing I think of is I want to do the practice so I can feel good, you know, start to wake up the body, move some energy, and feel good. And then maybe toward the end of practice, or my intention going further than to serve my body and my own mind, maybe is to expand that so I can take the benefits of this practice kind of outward. So maybe that's your intention, maybe you have other intentions, but that's what I've been thinking about this morning. So let's start, we'll start on our feet. And I'm just going to try something here and see. There, it's better, a little better. And take our arms out in front. I got my arms kind of in a stop, or the palms outward. I'm just going to work with the wrists a little bit in that way, and then flatten and reach and flatten. And just kind of warm up forearms a little bit, get my arms starting to work with being at shoulder height. And then let's do some more wrist rotation instead of front and back, just rotating around. And the other way. And then kind of palms toward each other and pull back with your shoulder blades, and then let them come forward and pull back and let them go forward. And moving the shoulder blades along the back as you start to warm up the shoulders, and know that they're really connected in, aren't they, to the shoulder blades. So they're wrapping around as we go forward, and they come back a little bit, retract as we come back. And then let's take the arms out to the sides. Do some circles here. And the other way. And then bringing your arms back down. And just kind of see how a little bit of movement felt. If there's no way you'd like to move your head, to check in with the neck a little bit. Just gently dropping the chin down, gently looking up. And then let's take the shoulder blades, as we were talking about, they kind of wrap around. Let's take them upward now. So they wrap around, same thing as we did going forward, and then we can come up with them as well. So let's do a few of those movements from shoulder height, and then to come up and back down, to come up and back down, to come up and down and up and back down. And then stay up the next time you're up, and just notice if there's anything going on in the front of your body as you reach up, and as you can maybe even play with your shoulders here a little bit, as my elbows kind of come toward each other, still have my hands up, and as they come back over near my head, I can go a lot higher. So I'm just going to play a little bit with, again, that those upper muscles above the shoulder blades even, right? Trapezius coming in there. And do a little bit of exploration there. And then bring your arms back down. Good. And then let's just take that into the arms going outward. Go ahead and find your exhale and then keep going up. And then forward folding. Inhaling and exhaling. Bring your hands to the knees, just checking out, again, shoulders, head, neck, and inhaling forward. And exhaling, arms out and up. And bringing the hands back down. I'm just going to quick check. Thank you for Yeah, I know my lighting is not great today, and I'm working on getting a cover for that. I thought it would be out here today, and it's not. Is that better? Even though I know this is really bright. Yeah, so now let's continue. And let's take the feet out. And it might just be my camera today. My other camera wasn't behaving. Turning the toes out. Spreading the toes apart. And on Sunday, someone asked about the knees. And of course, the best responses come maybe a little bit after you have time to let things simmer in your head. And so exhaling, let's bring the hips down and start to warm up knees, hips, and feet. And the best answer about which direction should the feet go is the same direction as the knees go, or vice versa. So here we are externally rotating. We have our toes turned out. We're doing kind of a wider squat. So I'm going to keep, as best I can, kind of an eye to that. Are my knees kind of lining up as they bend with my middle toes? Good. So a couple more here. Just want to get warmed up in my legs a little bit today, since we're going to work with hips, we're going to work with legs a little more again. And then coming down to pause here and lifting up one heel. Really feel how solid that other heel gets. And then lowering this heel down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let that heel come down. Try the other heel lifting up. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Both heels down. Maybe bring your hands together if you'd like. See if you can sink down just a little more. And then just notice, is the weight in your heels, and could you bring it forward a little bit, especially if you're going to lift both heels. Both heels lifting, starting to warm up in the legs, slowly lowering both heels. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Landing the heels, pressing down to come up. And stepping the feet underneath you. And inhaling the whole of your torso here. Exhaling, arms out and up. Inhaling, bring the arms down. And exhaling, arms up. Letting those shoulder blades come along, kind of adding a little bit of shoulder blade work. Inhaling down. Exhaling up. Get that air moving, that energy moving, to loosen up the shoulders and the neck a little bit. Good. Nice. All right. Then let's take ourselves more in this kind of alignment. Can't tell if it's better if maybe it's better if the light is at my back. let's step 1 foot forward, 1 foot back, and do a pretty big stance. I can still put my heel down, but just let that be experimental, somewhere where you can feel you've got a good stance. So some people might have their back heel turned in a little bit. That's fine. Or you might have it straight on. And let's take the hands to the waist and just move gently into kind of a front lunge position. This first couple I'm doing really gently, and I'm also keeping my back leg straight. So I'm just going to test that out for a couple of movements. And now maybe I'll bend both knees. I'm going to check that out, front lunge position. Getting nice and warm in the hips, and then coming to standing, bringing the feet together or stepping forward. All right, and then let's try the other side. So other foot forward, other foot steps back, and I'm going to start back leg staying straight, bending the front knee. And just simply working with this bending sensation. We're doing that flexion we talked about on Sunday, last week too. So let's just start to warm up. Of course, in the other leg, we get the opposite. We're extending and opening up that hip a little bit. Keeping that leg nice and straight, but I'm also not pushing it as far as I can go. And then bending both knees. Bending both knees. Feeling both feet. Good. And then stepping forward. So hopefully you're starting to feel a little bit warmer, a little bit more legs warmed up. And then let's take that back into the whole body energy. I love sun salutes or even Pilates roll down to get things moving. So inhaling, thinking of the whole 3D of your body up here. And exhaling, arms out and up. Inhaling this time, folding forward. Exhaling, bringing the hands to the knees. Inhaling, forward fold. And exhaling, arms out and up. And bringing the hands back. I'm going to give myself my whole mat. Inhaling. Exhaling, arms up. Inhaling, forward. Exhaling, a little bit of gorilla, relaxed back of the neck. And then stepping back, finding your way to downward facing dog. So the hands finding their way to grounding. I'm going to walk a little bit here. If it feels okay for your shoulders, just warming up my hands a little bit, the fingers, just shifting my weight. So I'm lifting the hands a little bit, but you wouldn't have to. You could just simply shift a little bit and really feel the fingers. Then come to a place that's kind of your sweet spot. Let your head go. And then take the hips back some more. Take the weight off the hands. And find one of those nice, delicious breaths again that start to move the energy. We let go of the tension on the exhale. Invigorate and inspire on the inhale. And then as you're ready, let's step forward again. Stepping forward, exhaling, gorilla, inhaling, forward fold. Exhaling, arms out and up. And bringing the hands back down. Good. And then just checking in with our intention to be joyful, to feel better by the end of class or loosened up, whatever your definition of better is, to feel ready for your day, and see how you are doing on that path. Okay, so let's find our way to a similar movement that we did before. We were doing lunges. So now we're going to step back, first side, whichever side you want to step back. And I'm going to lean forward and find that projected lunge where I'm going to support on the knee. Lots of hip flexion in one side. Reaching back on the other side. I'm kind of, this extended leg is in almost like a standing position. I don't feel like I'm really stretching out the front, but you might. And then from here, if you'd like to up the ante, hands could come to heart center, leaning away from your leg, or you could also just lighten your load on the leg. And this stuff here, I think, is really great for working around the hip. We get to work quads, hamstrings. You'll probably feel it even into your glutes a little bit. So it's really a nice, this work here. Even if it gets a little bit hard, really nice work. And then coming up to standing, and then nice step forward. And then stepping back with the other foot. Switching sides. Leaning forward, getting your footing. So the front foot spreads apart, ball of the foot, all the toes spreading apart, back leg nice and straight. So you can find that breath into the upper body again. And if you'd like, taking the hands away. That nice length through the back heel. Mine's back there far enough I don't have that heel down. It's nice and straight. Check in with my breath again. And then bringing the hands back, stepping forward. Good. Inhaling, upper body. Exhaling, arms out and up. Inhaling, forward fold. Exhaling, gorilla. Stepping back to your downward dog. Finding the hands again. Reaching the hips back. And this time, if you'd like to, throwing in a little bit of plank. So the knees might come down and you'll find your hips in line, dropping the hips to that just right spot, or perhaps things stay in a more straight-legged plank, pressing down. The same thing we did earlier with the shoulders. I'm going to take the shoulders to wrap around and press into the floor. And then I'm going to bring the knees down just so I can lower down with a little less body weight to lower. Nice form can come down. And then keeping the hands right there near the chest. Inhaling, exhaling, feeling the chest supported by the floor. And then reaching through the crown of the head, letting the upper body come up a little bit, that length in the back of the neck. And then coming back down. And then do you remember that feeling, we haven't gone there yet today, but of the mini crunch, where the front ribs get a nice tucked in feeling? And can you engage a little bit of that tucked in feeling without, squeezing or anything, but find a little bit of that mini crunch or 100 type feeling. And then continue to reach through the crown of the head. Let the back of the neck be nice and long. Let the nose and chin come up. with a little bit of that work around the rib cage. The obliques working. And just notice the difference, if there is any, in your two poses we just did, where we reached without thinking about that, and then we did a little reach with it. Coming back down, we're going to press down with the hands to come up. Reach into a little bit of a cat pose. Let your head come down. Again, we get that shoulder release here. If you want to take a breath in between the shoulder blades. And then stepping the feet up to standing. Gorilla pose. Forward fold. Exhaling, arms out and up. Good. Keeping working with the hips. I'm going to take our projected lunge another step. So I'm going to do this one maybe straight ahead here. I won't be completely on my mat, but that's okay. And then take one step back, 1 foot forward. Make sure that you can see my feet. And then I'll lean forward like we did before. Finding that projected lunge, finding the steadiness of that front foot. And then my hands could stay here and they can kind of move up as needed, or I can bring my hands to that heart center again. And I'm going to propel off my back toes a little bit. And let's try that a couple times, like pressing down. I'm not really working in my joint. I really want strong toes back there. So I can come up like onto my tippy toe. And that's a lot of work right there, isn't it? Bringing the hands back. So you could have your hands there that whole time as well. If you'd like to take this one more step, I'm going to propel, and I'm going to bring that foot a little closer, and maybe a little closer, and maybe a little closer. And right here, just tippy toe, balancing on one leg. Again, lots of great work for the hip, the glute, and maybe you want to lift that back foot up. And maybe you want to come forward with the torso. Hands could be at heart center. Hands could reach out in front or up like they were overhead. Bringing my hands back to the knee, my toes back to the floor, and coming back up. We'll do that this direction now. Standing, finding the second side. Good. And stepping that opposite leg back, leaning forward, spreading the toes apart, really getting a good base. Hands might come to heart center. And we started with this kind of rolling forward motion. Yeah, you can probably see my foot better now, what I'm doing here. And I'm really not trying to land in the joint of my big toe at all. I roll right through it to the top of my toe. Finding lots of good work there, just in this movement. Hands could be here as well. I could take that more and find my toes and bring more weight to the front leg, straightening the front leg, and then deciding if I'd like to lift my foot off, holding that foot off, coming forward, turning my knee down to the floor, just like my toes are pointed down to the floor. And again, maybe the arms lift. Warrior 3, it's been a while. Hello. Bringing your hands back down and coming back and then stepping forward. Good. So I don't know about you, but that seems to hit kind of right here, lower glutes, kind of into the hamstrings. But feels nice, like nice work to fine tune and work with. Good. So let's take that into another inhale. Exhaling, arms out and up. Inhaling forward. Exhaling gorilla. Inhaling, stepping the feet back, hands come to the mat. Downward dog. Letting the head go. Seeing if you can let any tension out of the shoulders by broadening in the shoulders a little bit. Still pressing down actively through the fingers. And then coming forward again, plank pose or knee down plank. And then lowering down to the belly. And then bringing your hands to support the head. You could have your chin on your hands or your forehead. Let your shoulders release. And let your chest with an exhale really come down to the floor again. And reaching through one of your feet, kind of lengthening through the toes there, nice straight leg right above the floor. And then keep that leg nice and straight as you lift a little bit higher. And as you lift a little bit higher, keep the leg straight. So we won't get, well, we can get some hip extension if we bend the knee. Maybe we'll do that next. But we can also get it all the way through the front of the leg by keeping the leg straight. So let's try that again on the other side. So I'm just going to reach to start, just barely lifting my foot off. Reaching. As I do this, of course, I get to work my back line as well. I get to work my glute to lift, get to use my hamstring to lift. So lifting up a little bit, and just kind of noticing what I notice in studio usually in a group class is that we tend to start to bend our knee. And see if you can keep it straight. See if you can keep the knee straight. And then bring that back down. And shake it out a little bit. Good. And then, so let's go to the first side. Since we talked about a little bit about what happens if we do bend the knee, how does that feel in the front of the thigh, in the front of the hip? Because if we're talking about the hip, we have front of the hip, we have back of the hip, we have side of the hip. Like all of that area is what we want to keep strong to be able to be mobile. So let's see what it feels like. Whether you can reach that foot back there or not, I have really long arms that can bend my knee a lot. You might not be able to, and that's not important, but you could see if you can bend it as much as you comfortably can. And I'm going to reaching my toes toward my head, and then I'm going to reach through my knee. I'm reaching through my knee, hips staying really grounded, reaching through my knee. And as I reach to the knee, get a little lift. It's really probably almost not even visible on the screen, right? My knee is lifted, but hardly any of my leg is. But I still feel some nice work there. I'm gonna let that go. And we'll try the other side. Bending the knee. Maybe in that alone, you're feeling like, oh, I get lots of nice stretch in the front of my leg. That's what we're going for. If you need a little bit more, reach through your knee. And reach through your knee so much that you start to give a little space down there between the knee and the floor. Knees straight on. Sometimes it wants to go out to the side here, so you can keep it straight on. Breath, and then relaxing. And then wiggle it out. Make sure that your glutes give up their work. Sometimes they hang on. And then bringing the hands back near the chest, and then using that work to press up. We'll come into that nice rounded spine again. I'm going to walk the knees up and let the head go. Breath comes in. And then downward facing dog. Stepping the feet forward. And rolling up or coming up with a straighter spine if you'd like. Good. So I'd like to go to a couple more balancing poses. One of the exercises I found when I was looking up hip exercises, and what comes up, of course, is rehabilitation for the hip after you've had hip surgery. But it's amazing to know that most of what we're doing in Pilates and in yoga and in my strength class are really the right dead center for what you need to be doing to keep the hips healthy and strong. So one of those is simply holding weight on one side. And we've done that a couple times, but not purely balancing. We've usually had some contact of that other foot. So you can bring one leg up and back down. So how long you do this, really up to you. You could be tapping a little bit faster than I am, up and down. You can tap out to the side a little bit. Come back to center, knee on straight. And then let's bring that foot down. So not only do I get a little bit of work lifting and lowering this leg, right? We get work in the other side. So let's try the other side. And so let's take that tapping out in front and doing a knee lift and lower. And you can challenge it, maybe a little more balance, hold it up there. If you feel your low belly starting to kick on a lot, me too. So that my hip flexor doesn't have to work as hard. So I'm using it to lift up, but it's not getting stressed out because I'm using the belly. And we'll get down to the floor and we'll do some more of that belly stuff. And I'm just gonna go out to the side a little bit. Turn my knee out a little, up and down. You don't have to go nearly as high as I'm going to get the benefit. In fact, we could do this sitting in a chair and have a lot of the same benefit. Except the balancing part. Good, so then coming back. Okay, another part of rehab in the hips, or keeping the hips nice and strong, is to be able to press outward. And everybody doesn't have a little elastic to press on today. At least I didn't request that. So we're not going to have that to do, but I want you to just bring your hands to the outside of your thighs. So you have this idea of pressing outward and how that would feel. Now, obviously I don't want to press outward too much in this position because we talked about where the knees need to line up with our toes. So keeping the knees in alignment with my toes, but keeping a little bit of pressure to press outward. And even online, they said pressing into like a cabinet or a wall. So you could just stand right next to the wall and kind of press in. So you get that abduction movement for your hip. So we're going to take that into the lunges we've been doing. We're going to do a little twist. So we'll start with the same thing that we've been doing. And taking one foot back. I'm going to see which is the best one for me to take back here. Is this one. And I'm going to lean forward. So same that we've been doing. Knee is going straight ahead. Knee is in line with my middle toes. And then I'm just going to move my body a little bit more, turning my chest a little bit more toward this bent knee leg. So my chest a little more toward the knee, or even turning outward. And then I'm going to take the hand that kind of seems like the right one to do, the one that will come across, and I'm going to bring it to that knee or the thigh. If you're up here, that's fine too. So wherever your hand is reaching. And with this bent knee, I'm just going to give a little bit of push outward, and my hand is going to press inward. And maybe you feel a little something different there. And maybe you feel like, don't need to stay here very long. I too did the cardio yesterday. Someone else said they did cardio. I got in a pretty decent run. Starting to stabilize though, where I don't really notice my cardio as much. Go ahead and step forward. That's enough of that one. Good, so I hope that makes sense. There are a couple other standing poses you can do the same thing with, but today we're kind of playing with this lunge. So I'm going to step forward, lean forward, find my stability, find my feet front and back, knee is straight on with those middle toes. How much bend I have in that knee is really up to you. Of course, the more we bend, kind of the harder it is, it feels like. And then I'm gonna take that hand across because my chest is already turning. And do a little bit of press outward, but it's really small, isn't it? Because if we're gonna keep that knee in line with the middle toes, really can't be that much. And then my hand is stopping any kind of excess. The other hand might come to the waist. Coming back to your center and stepping forward and stepping up. Good. Nice deep breath. Exhaling, arms out and up. Inhaling, forward fold. Exhaling, gorilla pose. Inhaling, forward fold. Exhaling, arms out and up. Good. I'm going to find my way down to the floor. You can use this nice strength that we've created with the legs if you'd like. Maybe you've got a chair nearby. You can make sure that you can make it down to a chair height, no problem, really smooth. You could see about coming down a little bit further into a squat. You didn't work as much with calves and feet, except in sumo. So as you come down, you may need to go ahead and find your hands and bring yourself down to the floor. All right, I'm going to roll all the way back. And again, just checking in. And how are you doing with your intention for your practice today? Starting to feel the effects of moving energy, of moving muscles, moving blood. Bringing your hands together, we'll bring them behind the head. Okay, as you're ready, lifting the head to hovering. And as we come up, let's come up a little bit and kind of spread out between the shoulder blades. Let that space between your shoulder blades get a little bit of contact with your mat. And then continue upward, finding your way up to maybe your higher point in mini crunch. And slowly coming back down to the floor. And if we're talking about intention, coming up again, maybe to your halfway point, and then to what might be your uppermost point. Working with this part of the body, the center of the body. Helping to define your will. Can be a really nice way to continue to stay on that path. Slowly coming back, resting the head. And we'll take the hands out. Now I'm just going to do a little arranging, very little. This is nothing big, but a little bit of my shoulder blades coming in toward kind of onto my back. When we did the work earlier, we took the shoulder blades way forward and then we took them back. And when you're on the floor, of course, they can't go as far back unless you kind of lift up a little bit. So lifting up a little bit, scooting the shoulder blades onto the back so I can have my hands right here alongside the body. And then Noticing my feet, spreading the toes apart, balls of the feet, pressing down to come into bridge. So on the list of things to do to rehab the hip, bridge pose. On the list of things to do to keep the hips mobile and strong, bridge pose. Go ahead and come back down and find your way back up again. Both feet feeling the floor, coming back down. And pressing back up. And coming back down. All right, choose one leg to stretch out on the floor. I'm going to move my other leg in a little bit closer toward me. You might end up doing that too. I'm going to see if I can press down and lift up with this leg straight. I'm not going to go up as high and then come back down. I'm going to see if I can do that a couple more times. Press down and come back down. Press down with the foot to lift the hip. And that kind of my long leg feels a little bit like dead weight, and it's sliding a little on the floor, the heel is. And then come back down and bring that foot back in. That was pretty tricky. Let's try the other side. So now, same thing, press down, lift, slide the heel on that leg, come back down. Press down, lift, come back down. Maybe you notice there's a difference side to side for your body. There is for mine. Press down, slide, come back down. And then let's extend both legs. And bringing both feet back in. Good. And then bringing the hips up, bridge pose. Lifting the heels. Lifting the heels, reaching through the knees. And then slowly lowering one heel down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Other side. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Finding both heels down. Slowly lower the hips all the way down. Rolling the spine down. Nice deep breath. All right, let's bring one leg in and grab behind the thigh there. And I'm going to do a little bit of up and down with my knee. Notice how your knee likes to be straight on with your toes. Up and down. Getting a little bit of a stretch as I go up. Nice bend as I come down. In one of the exercises, there was also this bringing, if you've got incisions, probably bringing your knee in past that 90 degrees. And then let's see about bringing our foot up again. So somewhere between 90 and all the way into the chest, your knee is. Next time your foot is in the air, don't have to have a straight leg. Let's work with the foot a little bit, stretching through the toes and through the heels. Full exhale. And then let's bring this leg down. So that's kind of fatiguing. Maybe it's like leftover workout stuff, but even though it seems like I'm giving myself all the breaks, after a few repetitions, I'm ready to stop doing that. So let's take the toes up and down. Just bending and straightening the knee. Giving a little bit of time at the top of that movement for a little bit of shaky, a little bit of, can I get into that whole calf, hamstring area, all the way into the glutes maybe. Also works the front of my leg, right? And then bring that knee in a little bit more. Maybe just pause there for a breath. That knee coming in. Now I can't maintain my full knee pull in here if I want to straighten my leg out, but I'm going to keep it at least coming in toward me. Not too much work at that, just a little bit more than I was. Up and down. Full exhale, I'm trying to relax the upper body. And then next time your foot is in the air, we'll work with the ankle. So toes and heel again, toes and heel. Good. And then using this leg that you've already got here to help bring you upwards. So you can kind of come up into your mini crunch, use your leg to help balance yourself upward. All right, so the block I promised. Having a block in front of you, I'll turn to the side here. I'm gonna lean back, having that block. Some of you maybe know what we're gonna do a little bit here. So I'm gonna start, bring that block a little bit toward one foot, and then I'm gonna take my legs a little wide to each side of the block. And I'm gonna start with left leg, and I'm gonna take that leg and bring it over the top of that block. Now for some people, this will be an easy height, so maybe you wanna make it a little bit higher and come over the block. Up and over, up and over. Another way to up the ante other than to bring your block higher is to come up on the fingertips, sitting up a little bit more straight, definitely harder here, or even taking the hands away and seeing if I can stay up nice and tall. A lot harder, definitely working this hip crease here. And then coming back. So let's do a couple repetitions on the other side. Again, leaning back is going to be a great entry spot. Just see how this feels. Having the block at its lowest will help you. And we'll come up and over that block. Upping the ante would be getting a higher stack of books, returning your block higher, or coming forward. Maybe onto the fingertips, maybe taking the hands away, trying not to rock back too much in my position to do it. See if I can find my way up to my sitting bones. That one's getting to be a good done spot. All right, now let's take that block over here, put it away for the moment. And let's take the legs a little bit wide and then scoot them in a little bit so that the hip flexors we just worked, well, if they feel okay here, they could stay down, or you could bring your knees in just a little bit. Good. And then taking your chest toward one knee. And then let's let there be a lot of hip crease here. Let's let the belly roll over the top toward that leg. And you might feel some stuff in the back of the leg, or with the knees bent, maybe you feel a lot more kind of into the back, into the low back. And if that feels nice, just go ahead and breathe with that. If you'd like to see what it feels like with a straighter leg, well, you can straighten your leg a little bit. Couple breaths. And then coming back to center. And then we'll try the other side. So trying the other side, little bend in my knees, maybe a lot of bend in my knees. Turning my chest a little more toward that knee. Coming forward, straight spine to start. We were sitting in a chair, we could likely bend forward, and we've given the knee almost that chair bend feeling, right? So we're getting that nice bend feeling, but then we add in the weight of the torso. So letting your torso come forward, if you like, letting that knee come forward. And then breath into the body. So whether that's your back here or your chest, the back of the back ribs. And then coming up. Good. If you have in your space a pillow, a long pillow, or a bolster, or a blanket, two ways to go. If you're feeling like you really need to kind of rest after that practice, or you need to rest because of your activities, rolling your blanket up, putting it under your knees, and resting back on your back. So scoop forward, find pretty close to where my knees are going to be, and come back. If I had another blanket or pillow, I might put it underneath my head. Second option, which is the option I'm going to work with just because I'm going to be talking to you a little bit here to rest for a couple of moments, is to use your blanket or bolster to sit on. So once you find your position, whichever position that is, allowing your mind to do a body scan. Scanning the body, whether you start at the head or the feet. And noticing your support. Resting into that support. And noticing your breath. Whatever your breath is tending to do, and allowing it to be. Allowing the breath to be. And then as we close for today, again, a reminder of your intention. The intention for many of us, our goal in this journey is to feel happy, joyous, contentment. Many of our motivations are there in that seeking of fulfillment, joy, peace. Doing these practices, perhaps you've noticed they tend to work, to feel connected, joyful, put together, whatever the wording is for you. Taking that information from your body, that intention from your mind, letting it expand past the realm of your body. You can imagine a bubble around you, all the space, and how you can bring that joy outward, that resilience and contentment outward. And then as you're ready, if you're seated, releasing your seated meditation. If you're resting on your back, maybe roll to your side and gently finding your way upward. And I'll stay on for any questions. One announcement, this Saturday, there's a free webinar for an intro to Pilates series. If you have friends or you yourself haven't done a lot of Pilates and would like to join that intro series, Megan will be starting that, I think, next week. And it will be twice a week, Tuesdays, Thursdays. If you've already done some, again, if you know somebody who's kind of curious or never done any of it, it's probably great entry level for them. So they've got the tools. All right, otherwise I'll see you on Sunday or next week.
Good practice. I like that one.